Eamon and Mark, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Congratulations on Tim. T.I.M. Congratulations on Tim arriving in theaters and on demand January 12th. This was such a suspenseful sci-fi thriller. I very much enjoyed it. It was a pretty clever movie about gaslighting as well. Eamon, I gotta ask, since you play basically the title character, an AI manservant named Tim, I'm sure you've gotten this question a thousand times before, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. So believable, so convincing. You were so good at it. How did you pull this off? And did it require you to not blink your eyes often? Because I find that very difficult to do.
Yes. Thank you for asking me that. That is that one thing that like during those little Spencer gave me some like chunks of technological dialogue and would just sit the camera on me and I couldn't blink during that whole thing. That was like the toughest thing to do. So yes, um, that was the physicality was actually the whole thing of it, really, like deciding what he can and can't do. And it actually became more of a question of what I can't do as an actor. You know, you always want to the freedom. It's great to play characters where you have the freedom to do anything or behave in any way, but this guy has a very certain parameter of how he behaves. So that became the sort of the thing that I focused in on, really.
Awesome, awesome. And Mark, your character is human, of course, the husband of Georgina Campbell's character. But I'm curious, on the set, acting opposite Eamon as the AI, what was it like acting and reacting to that? What did you sort of need to do to play that out on the screen for you?
I don't think you needed to do much. I mean, just sometimes I get annoyed when Google doesn't understand my Scottish accent, and I get emotional. So, nothing's really changed. I think maybe in Scotland we're safe from AI purely because Google finds it very hard to understand Scottish accents. But just now we're safe. We're safe.
And I understood every single word you said, Mark.
Well, Google struggles. I'm telling you.
Well, Eamon, is that something that you can easily switch on and off between takes, or did you stay in character? I mean, if I ask you to be Tim right now, can you immediately switch into that role?
Um, well, it would be harder now because I haven't done it for a year and a half. But on the shoot days, I actually really I loved having Mark there and Georgina there as well because it was great to sort of between takes just screw around together and not be Tim. Because that ironically gave me the ability to sort of snap back in. I find it I would never have been able to exist as a method and exist as Tim. That would have been a nightmare. So Mark and Georgina made it very easy to sort of be something else between takes. And that's actually that I found that were really wonderful.
Fun question for both of you. If you were to own a walking, talking AI, what would you have them do? Is it the normal house chores, or would you have them trade stocks for you?
I didn't even think about the stock market. But actually, I'm going to keep it simpler. I really need to get my garden done.
Oh,
Uh, it's cold outside, so if there's an AI robot that can endure all weather conditions, work through the night, silently because I need to sleep, then that would be great. That would be really good. I'd appreciate it.
I mean, there's so many things that you could get an AI to do, and some of them are personal and I won't tell you. But I think I would be, yeah, I don't know. I think I would like to keep it. If I had to have an AI Tim, I think I would keep it to I would want the very first version of it and just very light chores because I don't know. I don't want it doing any other stuff.
Would you use it as a footstool?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think it goes with my aesthetic. But if I could find one with like a nice minimalist aesthetic, yeah, maybe. Sure.
speaking of aesthetic, Eamon, we talked about the mannerism, how you captured that brilliantly in this film, Tim. And there have been many AI interpretations in movies over the years, Arnold being one of them, and Terminator, but that's sort of a rougher designs. Yours, however, Tim, I should say, was meant to be very close to human-like. His outside appearance was very sleek and glossy, for lack of a better word. In your conversations with writer-director Spencer Brown, what did he want you to embody in terms of the looks for Tim? What were there things that you guys left out or avoided in order to make sure that Tim appeared the way that he did?
Yeah, I think we spoke a lot about it. We were lucky enough to have a bit of rehearsal before we started, and I think for my rehearsal with Spencer was all around. I think it became a lot about how he moves, what prompts where he goes and when he goes. Because he's not acting on will or need, he's acting on data and necessity. So it became a lot about movement and stuff. But it's interesting you talk about Arnie, because I think what I love Arnie in Terminator, and I think that the fear factor for Terminator is that stillness and the strength that Arnie has in general. But I think especially in those movies as his AI, that stillness and that strength, I think that was kind of a carryover into Tim, where I think there's something unnerving about something that doesn't move or is sort of watching for just too long, or stays somewhere just for too long, or the head moves in a way that's just lagging from the body. So that sort of stillness and the strength kind of thing is really Arnie-esque, and I'm gonna own that. I was sort of like Arnie in this movie.
Do you think,
Nice.
you think you'd take him on? Fight
Yep.
him?
Well, I mean, I don't know if Tim's ready to take on Terminator, but I mean, maybe in a wit challenge, I think Tim would be able to do like a sparring of wits, maybe.
So on that point, though, on that point, there have been a lot of fears, and the themes are relevant to today's world. With the recent actor strike, AI is taking our jobs and stuff like that. So, what's your take, bird's eye viewpoint, Mark and Eamon? Do you think AI are generally useful or harmful in the long term, in the long run?
I do think useful if if it's controlled and there's some smart people up top who are controlling how we use AI technology, then I think it really could be beneficial, and very helpful to society in general. I think it really could. Um, but again, it's the big question, isn't it? Who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be in control? And as long as they don't abuse their powers, then we're safe. We're all good.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to certain industries, AI is super important and can offer us so much, like health and technology. But when it comes to our industry, I think, and art in general, I'm just not convinced that the lack of humanity or a human heart or a human brain can be replaced. I think, as Mark says, there has to be controls, not just to protect people's jobs, but to sort of maintain a kind of humanity, obviously, within that kind of work. And I think that's really important. And I think that's why artists do what we do, because they're on some level, we want to tell stories and we want to share the human experience. And as much as data can be analyzed, I'm just not convinced that that element, if it's missing, will pierce through.
Now, on my final question, also the theme that I think stood out in this film is the case of masculinity, or the emasculation between two opposing male individuals, one being a robot, of course. And in a lot of ways, Tim harkens back to the old days of erotic thrillers, but with modern angle. Talk to me about that. The fact that Spencer Brown wasn't interested in depicting AI taking over the world, but more about the intimacy conflict between these three characters. What do you think the script wanted to convey on that matter?
Well, it's more just an observation, isn't it? Like potentially how technology could affect relationships. And actually, we've not really delved into it, but I was talking to Eamon before. It's really fascinating. There's a story last year that came out where there was a guy who had an AI girlfriend and had an affair with an AI chatbot, and his wife found out and they split up. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And they just had a normal life, like everyone else. They had a 9 to 5 job, a family, and now we're seeing technology interfere with that. So maybe it's just I don't know if I'm being really specific, but I suppose what the movie shows us is an observation, isn't it? And how technology potentially could infect and corrupt those relationships.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think that, I mean, Mark and I had fun. I think I can say this on behalf of Mark. I think we had fun in those elements, those moments in the movie where Tim and Paul sort of do the male dance. But and they were fun moments and fun to play, because they are what they are. But I think for Spencer, and I don't want to speak on behalf of him, but I think what I found great in this script is something universal that happens with all that all of us can relate to, with the idea of what happens when another is introduced into a relationship, or a separate entity suddenly stands between you and someone that you love, especially in a romantic relationship. Like what the metal is tested and what's the reaction. And I think that's the basis of all great sort of thriller or fear stories, of like how will you react, and B, what will be the consequence of this other person coming in and destroying your life, even though Paul hasn't really helped his own case by cheating on his wife. Anyway, that's a character sort of motivational thing that I took from.
Very well said. I love this movie. I watched it twice now. Enjoyed it very much. So for my fans at home, everybody go check out Tim, or T.I.M, arriving in theaters and on demand January 12th. Eamon and Mark, thank you for talking to me, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.